Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community. The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great show for you today, including a talk with Oklahoma author Anna Myers about her newest book, Hoagie. But first, Susie Beasley is going to tell Doug Benton about a book she really enjoyed.
Hi, Susie, you're with me again here.
Yes, I have.
Brought another book to talk about with an intriguing title.
Intriguing title indeed.
If you want to walk on water, you've got to get out of the boat.
That's
it's by
right.
John Ortberg. Tell us about it. What is it?
Well, this is a book that it is marketed as a Christian living. However, individuals or persons that just was interested in other ideas of approaching and problem solving and dealing with day-to-day life, especially now with so many things that are uncertain. Ortberg has written some other books, but this one I picked up and I thought, wow, well, this people always saying if you walk on water. Well, you have to actually get out of the boat. You have to, plant yourself on terra firma and say, hey, if I have something I need to deal with, how do I go about dealing with that? This book kind of gives you a path to do that. Mm-hmm. It kind of brings you to a thinking process, a process of problem solving, facing fear, even though as adults we tend to say, I'm not scared, I'm not this, but there are fears and doubts that we don't want to admit that we have. And this kind of sets you on a course of problem solving. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's one reason why I was drawn to it, because it kind of like, well, at the end of the day, if you want to read something that after looking at the news or getting in 5 o'clock traffic, this kind of puts things in perspective and centers you.
Yeah, it's real easy to say you're not worried about things in your life or in your work at 6 o'clock in the evening, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes the story's a little different.
It can keep you up at night. Yeah. It can keep you up at night, and I think that people tend to try to gravitate toward a quick fix. Well, there are really no quick fixes because it's a continuum. Whether we're in a different station in life as far as financially, whether we're in a different station in life as far as our age or anything like that, if we're a parent, we all have to come to the decision-making process of getting on with things. We can't just let them kind of bottle up and all that. This helps you to kind of clear the field. Yeah. Like if you're bowling about it, you're going to have to go ahead and clear those pins out. They can't just stay in the little hopper all the time. Yeah. But Ortberg, he has put together a really worthwhile text. It's easy to read. It is not trite. It is not difficult. And I think that people will probably go to it and enjoy it.
Okay, once again, the title is If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat.
By John.
And it's by John Ortberg. Susie, thanks a lot for bringing it in. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be interesting to a lot of our readers.
Okay,
thanks, folks.
I know it is wet, and the sun is not sunny.
Hi, my name is Jose Jimenez of your Metropolitan Library Commission. Most experts tell us that if you just spend 20 minutes a day reading to your child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're also preparing that child to learn how to read. Check with the experts at your Metropolitan Library for suggestions on just the right books for you and your family. And visit us at our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
A couple of months ago, I had an opportunity to talk with an Oklahoma attorney, Raymond Bud Muncris, about a book that he really wants to share with you. I think you'll enjoy A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Okay, Bud, you brought a really interesting book today, and it's on CD as well.
It's on CD, it's on tape, it's on vinyl records. This is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it's gone through more permutations than I don't know. I guess it would take a New Testament scholar to track all the changes and variations in this work over the years.
How did it start out?
Well, here's how it started. It started with Douglas Adams, the author, lying drunk in a field in Austria.
Okay.
Back in the early 70s. And we may have done that too. I don't know if you remember. I don't. Anyway, there's Douglas Adams, and he was looking up at the sky, and he got the idea for The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, The Hitchhiker's Guide itself is a people's encyclopedia. And the conceit or the gag or the hook for the Hitchhiker's Guide series is that this book exists in it, and there are people who hitchhike their way through the galaxy, through the universe, in fact, and it functions as a travel guide. Now, interestingly, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or as it's known in shorthand today, H2G2, has become real. And it's a website that's hosted by the BBC, and it's a people's encyclopedia, sort of like Wikipedia, and you can write articles for it if you want to. But in Douglas Adams' series of science fiction spoofs or science fiction whimsies, it's a book that intergalactic hitchhikers use to tell them about what the people are going to be like on the planets they visit, and so on.
So it's kind of a rough guide, the Harvard rough guide.
That's a good analogy.
But it didn't actually start out as a book. It started out as something else, didn't
Originally, it was a radio drama series broadcast on BBC, and then it was, as I said, vinyl records. It was released in a record form. It later became a television series, a BBC television series. It was broadcast here on PBS. And is now available, as you say, even on CDs. So this thing has great legs, and it's lasted through decades. And it's coming out again, or another series is coming out this fall, because the BBC is going to broadcast yet another series of Hitchhiker's Adventures in the Galaxy, with almost all the original BBC radio cast. One or two of them have dropped off over the years. Douglas Adams included. Douglas Adams is now deceased, but his voice is going to be on the series because he recorded a lot of readings from the books over the years.
Well, would you recommend it?
Oh, very much. Now, it's very English, very whimsical. I don't think hardcore sci-fi people are going to like it. But if you can leaven your science fiction taste with a little humor, if you can accept a little comedy, then you'd probably like Hitchhiker's Guide.
Okay, and it's by?
Douglas Adams.
Thanks.
Thanks, BJ.
Coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Kelly Rhea is going to talk with Ronna Davis about a book for our young adults.
Hello and welcome. Today's book is called I Am Morgan Le Fay. Sounds rather dramatic, doesn't it? And it's by Nancy Springer, who's written several books. With us today is Ronna Davis, and she's going to tell us about I Am Morgan Le Fay. Hi, Ronna.
Hello, Kelly.
You brought this book, and I know that you enjoyed it. Can you tell me something about it?
It's the story, it is a story of Morgan Le Fay as reconstructed or imagined by Nancy Springer, who, as you mentioned, is a very prolific author of fantasy books for teens. And this Morgan Le Fay is presented as being a rather almost innocent character at the beginning of the book, but through a series of circumstances she becomes who she is known as, which is more like the wicked Morgan Le Fay. And
so she's presented almost as a teenager.
She's presented as a teenager and even as a child. And what I liked about the book was the fact that all the characters were so fully realized, at least I thought they were. And the background was fully imagined, and the description was really detailed. You could see what was happening. It was almost cinematic to me. So that's the kind of fantasy that I enjoy, that's kind of rooted in a way in the real world without maybe being too far out there, because it's tied to characters that are believable. And this Morgan Le Fay is very believable. And so is the rest of her family, and Uther Pendragon, and all these other famous characters that teenagers have heard of if they know anything about the Camelot legend. It's kind of the other side of Camelot that's presented here. It's not the light and fluffy Camelot at all, but it's a very intriguing book.
So you set this for what age of?
I would set it anywhere between 12 and 15. Definitely, because I think they all can get something out of it that's appropriate to their ages. So I would just recommend it. I think it's a good book.
It sounds delicious.
Thank you.
It's called I Am Morgan Le Fay. It's by Nancy Springer, and we thank Ronna for being here today. Look for this book at your local bookstore or at your favorite library.
Thanks, Kelly and Ronna. And now Doug Benton has something he wants to share with us. Doug?
I do?
Yes,
okay.
you do.
I know what you're talking about. I know what. I wanted to talk a little bit about an actress who was, in her day, the most popular. Her movies made more money than anybody else's. And I think people may remember her name, but they don't know much about her anymore. And she was Clara Bow. Big star in the late 20s, 1920s. Did some talkies into the 30s. And now people don't know much about her anymore. She was born in 1905 in Brooklyn. And you can get all this history, by the way, from a video that we have in the collection. You're wondering if I was just going to rattle on about this. It's called Discovering the It Girl. Clara Bow, that was her nickname in the movies. This was originally produced for Turner Classic Movies, the cable television station that deals with vintage American films, mostly American films. But anyway, it's out on video now. And I watched it the other night. It runs a little less than an hour, and it really is a good overview of her career. And the reason that she's at all significant now is that she was pretty much the first sex goddess of the movies, you know, the first queen of that sort of thing.
Well, that's why she was called the It Girl, wasn't it?
Right.
She had it.
It, which was created by a popular novelist of the name named Eleanor Glynn. And it was sex appeal, but it was also a kind of casual attitude about sex, the flapper girl kind of thing, as we think of it. And Glynn wrote a movie script called It that Bow starred in. And that's how she picked up the nickname, the It Girl. And people of the time, you know, do what people do now. They kind of confuse the character on screen with the real person, although it was easy in Bow's case because she really was kind of a wild thing. And she...
No, really, surely not.
Oh, yeah.
Movie stars? No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the story went around that she had entertained, in quotation marks, the entire USC football team after a party. Well, they used to come and hang out at her house because she was a movie star and she was a USC fan. But no, the rest of that stuff it was a little over the top. But she had a lot of enemies, and she was considered kind of trailer trash in Hollywood because she'd been born in Brooklyn, 1905, very poor family. When she got into the talkies later on, she was terrified of the microphone. This documentary has her talking and even singing in a couple of films, and she was perfectly fine. I mean, there was nothing wrong with her voice. But she was afraid, coming from Brooklyn, that the voice would sound funny to a lot of people, though she worked on it, and it was fine. But she had a breakdown in 1931 on the set because the microphone was just too much for her. She couldn't handle it. Now, her grandmother had been in an asylum. Her mother had been in the same asylum, and Bow was always concerned about what was going to happen to her mental health. Now, we're running out of time. I'll just say she retired in 1933, did some television later on in her life, died in 1965. It's a fascinating story, and I think people would enjoy watching the clips from the old films, too.
Great. Thanks, Doug. Yeah. Coming up next, MJ Van Deventer of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum is going to be talking with Bob Blackburn of the Historical Society.
Bob, so nice to have you here this morning.
It's good to be with you.
We've tried several times to have you on the program. Finally made it.
Well, my schedule with the History Center under construction has been a little awkward the last couple of years.
I'm sure it has. You're going to talk about Woody Guthrie this morning.
Yes.
A book called Ramblin' Man.
Right. There's a new book out. Ed Cray, who is a professor of journalism, has taken a new look at Woody Guthrie's life. And it's not so much a book for someone who's interested in his music. Mm-hmm. or even his literature. He had such a creative period in his life from the late 30s to the late 40s that it was just this almost unbelievable outburst of creativity in his books, in his writings, in his music, in his interpretation of the American spirit. Well, this book really does everything else. A reader might be a little disappointed if they're looking for an analysis of all that or the influence of that on American culture. What it does, though, it gives you a sense of the man from the family perspective, from a friend's perspective, from a co-worker's perspective. And for the first time, a scholar had access to the family archives that have been accumulated in New York City. All of his letters to relatives, letters to him that have been collected. And you get this personal portrait, almost first person from others who knew him.
How would you describe Woody Guthrie?
Woody
Your
Guthrie,
own portrait.
He was a troubled individual. He had a tragic childhood. His mother had Huntington's disease, died prematurely. The family was left to fend for themselves. He almost was an orphan raised by the community for many years. His dad had health problems, moved to Pampa, Texas. And Woody's life as a vagabond started when he was a teenager and would continue. His marriages were up and down. He would, leave the house in a day to go out to get a pack of cigarettes and not show up for 2 months. And he did hobo around the country. But Woody Guthrie was a creative genius. If you read his literature, read his words and how he expressed the times and how his music captured the spirit of a troubled America. He was the right artist at the right time with the right experiences to capture that. And today, people like Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan recognize him for opening the eyes of the musical community. And I'm on the Literary Landmark Commission for the state of Oklahoma. The first year that we had the ability to mark a site for someone who is added to our literary heritage, we marked Woody Guthrie's home site in Okemah.
I remember when that happened. Thank you so much for sharing this book. It sounds like a fascinating read.
Thank you very much.
With me now is Oklahoma author Anna Myers. She is an award-winning author. She's won 2 Oklahoma Book Awards. She has had, and unless you're really in the literary world, you don't know how impressive this is, starred reviews in a number of book review journals as well, and has written a whole raft of really entertaining books for young adults. And your latest is called Hoagie. And I think we're going to have to, I usually say what inspired you to write this book, but I think I better start. I realized, what is a hoagie?
A hoagie is a boy who walked on the Erie Canal path, leading the mules that pulled the boats. And those little boys worked sometimes 6 hours, almost always 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 7 days a week, all through the spring and summer and fall. Only in the winter they didn't have jobs, and they worked hard and they had hard lives. Lived with their mules.
I didn't realize that they drained the canal during the winter months.
They drained it most of the time. Sometimes they would keep a little in certain cities, certain towns for ice skating, but usually they drained it.
Now this is about one boy in particular, Howard, who decides his father is dead, and he has, most unfortunately and quite by accident, has contributed to the poverty of his family, and he decides to winter over in one of the canal towns so that he can send all of his money to his mother instead of using some of it to travel to and from.
And he thinks he will have a job, and that falls through, and he almost dies during the winter. Has a very difficult time. And he encounters a girl who is deaf, and in those days, people who were deaf were thought to be really handicapped and something wrong with them, and the family has tried to keep it quiet. And Howard learns a lot about himself during that winter.
Now he also deals with the fact that his older brother Jack, who had worked with him as a hoagie, he's older, he's better at everything, and Howard is always trying he's trying very hard to be at least as good as, if not better than, his brother Jack.
Jack is superior in every way, Howard thinks. And although Jack is not unkind to Howard, he always thinks Howard is a goof off, a mess up. And Howard, by the end, learns that he is really as worthy a person as is Jack.
Well, now Howard really enjoyed going to school. That was one thing that Jack didn't.
That's right.
He could do it, but it wasn't.
He wasn't a scholar.
He wasn't a scholar, and Howard really was. But that was one of the things that had to go by the way if he was going to help support his family. And I think this book brought. As we're learning more and more about Howard, we also learn how very lacking in any kind of social services or safety net or anything. If you were poor in the early 1800s in America, that was just too bad.
That's right. You were on your own. And if you were like Howard, wanting to go to school and had no money, you were pretty much on your own.
Well, there was one particularly poignant moment, I thought, when Howard has been living in the barn and fighting dogs for scraps of food, quite literally, to stay alive. And he falls quite ill, he gets pneumonia, and there's a family that takes him in, but they really worry about paying for a doctor. That is going to stretch them a little bit farther than they think they can handle if they bring a doctor in to see this poor kid.
Old Cyrus is the grandfather of the family who brings in Howard, and although he wants to help him, he does begrudge the amount of money because Cyrus himself is not a wealthy person.
And he's actually supporting his widowed daughter and her three daughters as well.
right.
So poor man, he's not only poor, he's got all these women in his house.
That's right.
Now, this is, I think, very beautifully set in a particular period. Did you have to do a lot of research?
I did, and I knew nothing about the Erie Canal until I started, and I really found it fascinating to do the research I did. I got the idea, actually one of my brothers came up with the idea after seeing a special on A&E about the Erie Canal and the boys who worked there. But I did have to do a lot of research.
Well, now you obviously also did some research about the deaf people as well, because I was surprised to find that there was a sign language and books and teachers that early.
It began not so very long in America before that, but started, of course, in Europe, and then an American went to Europe and learned the process and brought it to America and changed it, and it became American Sign Language. But it was in its very beginnings during that period.
So one of the things that I found intriguing was Howard would sing to his mules when he was walking, partly just to keep himself awake if you're 6 hours on and 6 hours off. But I've discovered that this is probably dating me, but I sang that song about the Erie Canal.
You and Howard knew the same song.
Yes, we knew the same songs. I'm not quite as old as Howard is, even though we know the same songs. But somehow reading the book made that, they were writing about something that was real.
They were.
People really did say, "Low bridge, get your head
That's
down."
right, and they had to get down.
Yeah. Well, now I just thought that was part of the song, that they really had to.
The bridges were built low because the farmer who owned the land built the bridge himself, and he could not afford to build it high. But if he didn't build a bridge, he couldn't get from one part of his land to the other part. So they were built low because the farmer could not afford high bridges.
And yet that whole system of canals was, I understand, one of the things that really got us moving. That was
opened up America.
Superhighway
That's
of
right.
the 1800s.
It was.
And so now we have just a brief time. What is the age that you think would most enjoy this book?
Oh, I would say 10 up, a 9-year-old if they're an exceptionally good reader, but through junior high. The issue of the boys and the competition between the two brothers is a very common thing with boys that age. So I think through junior high they would enjoy it.
Oh, and I suspect there are a number of adults like me who would enjoy reading it as well.
I think so too.
And don't be ashamed if you know all the songs that are mentioned in that book. That's perfectly all right.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much, Anna, for telling us about Hoagie. And Hoagie is a book that you can find at your library and your favorite bookstore.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Donna Morris, Executive Director of your Metropolitan Library System. You know, experts tell us it's never too early to begin reading to a child. If you spend just 20 minutes a day reading to a child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're helping that child to prepare to learn how to read. Visit us at the Metropolitan Library System and let us help you select just the right books for you and your family. And be sure and visit our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
Well, Doug Benton is with me, and we have time for the almanac. And before you get in with your real literary stuff,
Okay.
in 335 BC,
I remember it well.
Of course you do, so do I. In November, Alexander the Great consulted the Delphic oracle to see if he really was going to conquer the world. He was told, "Go away, young man, this is not the season for consultation." At which point he grabbed the poor oracle by her hair and started to drag her to the altar, and she screamed out words to the effect of, you know, "You're not to be gainsayed, nobody can tell you no." He dropped her and said, "Well, that's enough for me," and went off and conquered the world.
No wonder Colin Farrell got the role.
Right.
Sounds like just another night at the pub with Colin.
Right. What you got for us?
Some famous and some not so famous anymore people. November 24th is the birthday of the Irish writer Lawrence Sterne from 1713. Now, nobody reads 18th century stuff anymore. I accept that. But Sterne was at one time well known for a book called The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, which was kind of early absurdism because Shandy doesn't even get born in the course of the novel. It's about everything but his life and opinions. But it's still a lot of fun if you can kind of get through that 18th century prose. The same day, November 24th, in 1868, is the birthday of the American ragtime composer Scott Joplin. Now, people probably know Scott Joplin. The Maple Leaf Rag has got one of the most famous introductory passages of any piece of music ever. And Joplin was a smart guy because apparently he had been offered $25 for the manuscript of Maple Leaf Rag, which was probably a lot of money for an African-American man at that time. And he said, "No, I tell you what, why don't you give me a penny for every copy you sell?" And it sold over 1 million copies.
Oh, my word.
So, you know, $10,000 was a lot of money. We say $25 was considerable, but that was a lot of money. November 26th, the birthday of Charles Schulz, the creator of Peanuts.
Great.
So,
Thanks,
go from
Doug.
there.
And if you want to check out any of this information, go to our website, www.metrolibrary.org. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.